Welcome to Dope Bets. Please subscribe and like this video for more CFL and other sports betting picks. College football is in full swing, and so is the NFL.
Overrated as
But this weekend, I'll be betting on Canadian football. I personally like betting on CFL football because it's always exciting with evenly matched competition. With that being said, we'll be going over this week's Canadian football games that are scheduled for this weekend. But first, let's get a quick recap of last week's CFL action.
Here we go again.
Saskatchewan opened Week 19 with a 27-19 win over Toronto, clinching the top seed in the West and home field advantage for the playoffs. Trevor Harris threw for 340 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Samuel Emilus racked up 142 receiving yards. AJ Ouellette added his 5th straight rushing touchdown as the Riders controlled the game throughout the entire. A strong start to the weekend and a winning bet for us. Next, Calgary snapped a 4-game skid with a dominant 37-20 win over Hamilton. Powered by a season-high 211 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground, Dedrick Mills led the way with 105 yards and 2 scores, while Vernon Adams Jr. added 257 passing yards and steady play under center. Hamilton's Bo Levi Mitchell threw for over 300 yards but was picked off twice in the loss. A huge bounce back for the Stamps and another winning dog bet for us. Next, Edmonton pulled off a 25-20 upset over Winnipeg, earning their 4th straight home win and keeping their playoff hopes alive. The loss dropped the Blue Bombers to 8-8 and delayed their playoff clinch, while Brady Oliveira surpassed 1,000 yards rushing on the season. Winnipeg also lost top receiver Nick Dembski to a leg injury in the game. A big win for the Elks and our 3rd straight winner this week. Last, Montreal closed out Week 19 with a dominant 30-10 win over Ottawa, powered by a stifling defense that allowed no offensive touchdowns. Davis Alexander stayed perfect as a starter at 9-0, throwing for 240 yards and a touchdown. Mark Duquois' block punt return and Jose Maltos Diaz's perfect 5 field goals sealed the victory. The Alouettes rolled, and we capped off the weekend with our 4th straight winning bet, a clean sweep this week.
perfect.
So to recap CFL Week 19, if you had followed all of my picks from the last video, you would have gone a perfect 4-0 this week. We were able to capitalize on the Riders, Stampeders, Elks, and Alouettes all winning as predicted. A great way to bounce back after going 0-3 the previous week. After an action-packed CFL weekend, we have 4 exciting matchups to break down and make a moneyline pick for this upcoming week in the Canadian Football League, so let's get it. To kick off Week 20, Saskatchewan visits Winnipeg on Friday night at Princess Auto Stadium. With first place in the West locked up, the Rough Riders are expected to rest key starters, including quarterback Trevor Harris. Winnipeg, sitting at 8-8 and still chasing a playoff spot, enters with momentum after a win over Hamilton. The Bombers have also won 7 of their last 10 matchups against Saskatchewan before this season. Most people predict Saskatchewan to win, but with backup starting, it could be closer than expected. I'll be taking Winnipeg to win this one. For the second game of CFL Week 20, the BC Lions host the Edmonton Elks on Friday night at BC Place, with a home playoff spot on the line. BC sits at 9-7 and second in the West, while Edmonton is 7-9 and hanging near the bottom of the standings. The Lions have dominated the recent head-to-head series, winning 4 of the last 5 matchups, including back-to-back blowouts this season. Their offense has been explosive, averaging nearly 38 points a game in those wins. With BC in peak form and everything to play for, I think they'll absolutely embarrass the Elks. I'm taking the Lions at home. For the 3rd game of Week 20, Montreal and Ottawa meet again in a rematch just a week after the Alouettes' dominant win. Montreal enters as a 13.5-point favorite and continues to look like one of the league's most complete teams. Ottawa, at 4-11 and out of playoff contention, will again turn to Dustin Crum with Drew Brown sidelined for the season. Davis Alexander remains perfect as a CFL starter and should have no problem leading Montreal's offense once more. With the Red Blacks showing little fight lately, I'll be taking the Alouettes to win again this week. To close out Week 20, Calgary hosts Toronto on Saturday night at McMahon Stadium in a game with playoff implications for the Stampeders. Calgary snapped a 4-game skid with a strong 37-20 win over Hamilton last week, led by Vernon Adams Jr. and a revitalized run game. Meanwhile, Toronto continues to struggle with injuries and inconsistency, likely starting backup quarterback Jarek Doege again. With the Argonauts already eliminated and Calgary still fighting for playoff positioning, motivation clearly favors the home team. I'll be back in the Stampeders to get the win and finish strong in front of their fans. That's all my CFL picks that I have for you today, so let's get a quick recap of our picks for CFL Week 20. We're going with the Blue Bombers, BC Lions, Alouettes, and the Stampeders all to win outright this weekend. Hopefully we'll have another exciting week of CFL football and winning bets. Please don't forget to like this video if you enjoy this type of content and comment below your CFL picks for this week. I'd love to hear them. Thanks again for tuning in this week to Dope Bets. Subscribe for more upcoming sports betting content.